Well, hi, everybody. Olivia the dog said she wanted to be on the show, and so I put her on the show, but let's swing over to me. Welcome, low ego action heroes. It's me, Debbie Levitt from dcx, and it's time for our critical thinking stream, which we do once a month. And that is where you have sent stuff in, and we've got a link here at dcx.to, which will get you to all of the things, and you can send stuff in, and once a month we take a look at it and we see if we think it's meaningful, actionable, helpful, true, or any of these other things that would help you out. As always, thank you to everybody on the CXCC Patreon. I haven't updated this list in a while, but it's current people and former people and new people, and thanks to everybody who is supporting the channel, even with $1 or so a month. Very appreciated, though I know not everyone can afford that right now, so totally understood if you're in our free Patreon. And of course, quick reminder that my new Life After Tech book is out. If you are wondering what you can add to your tech career or possibly do instead of your tech career, this book is for you. You don't have to leave tech. It's really for everybody in every situation. So check it out at lifeaftertech.info. And I've got a whole separate community there so that we can separate the doing the work from the moving into different work communities. All right. Hi, Ana Lucia. So we got some stuff ahead of time, and we're going to check it out. So first I'm going to share my screen, which means you get to see how the sausage is made. This is what my computer looks like right now. Oh, disregard the countdown timer. And let's flip on over to these things. Let's see, we got this one. Okay, so yes, you can see that. Okay, so somebody sent me a Jared Spool LinkedIn post, which required a little bit of creativity because I've blocked him there. But the comment that I got with this said, maybe I'm just reaching a breaking point, but I'm getting more and more discouraged about the future of UX research when it feels like so many people, even within our field, are making it seem like it's our fault for not getting buy-in or doing the right kind of research. Covered in this book. You're being gaslit. Very often when someone says that, they next have something to sell you. People know I'm not a fan of Jared Spool. I'm the anti-fan. But let's take a look at what he's saying. And this is an audience participation adventure, so feel free to chime in with what you think. By the way, I've said in the past that I can't prove this, and I'm not a psychologist, but I see Jared Spool as a bit of a narcissist or malignant narcissist. So there's something very funny when I saw this today, because I haven't blocked him on LinkedIn. I don't see this. And he's got minions behind him. There's just something about that just works. Okay, so here's what Jared Spool said 2 weeks ago. I'm going to read through it and then let's react to it and let's hear what you think of it as well. What are your comments, your questions? Do you agree or disagree? He says, is the demand dropping for UX researchers? No. I don't know where he got that from. Because it does appear to be yes. I guess I'm commenting as we go. It does appear to be yes, and I think we got some statistics from Indeed that showed that there was a drop in the number of job listings in these areas. Excuse me. I'm at the end of COVID and I'm coughing a little bit, so please excuse me. Then he says, well, he didn't say that. Is the demand dropping for user researchers who can only do simple interviews and basic usability testing? Probably, I hope so. Okay, so he doesn't know, he's guessing. So we're starting in a not great place where he's not too sure of something, and his idea that the demand is dropping for this other thing, I'm not sure is accurate. It certainly doesn't match what my LinkedIn feed looks like with the number of researchers that I see out of work. People keep asking me about the demand for user researchers. I'm not too sure why, because he's not a researcher. I have an unusual take on this. I think most user researchers are too tactical in their work, hurting them career-wise. They're not growing into strategic UX researchers, and that's where the demand is. Okay, I gotta stop right here because already this is problematic. So this is your typical gaslighting, in my opinion, where, you know what? We gave you everything. We hired you, we gave you all the time you wanted, we gave you all the resources you wanted, we gave you everything you needed to be amazing, and you weren't strategic. It's as if you had a choice. Whereas many researchers tell me, hey, I get into these jobs and I'm told, what can you do in a day? Or don't interview users, just run a survey. And they don't have power, they don't have autonomy, they don't have the ability to schedule and decide their own things. So I think we have to be very careful of Jared and what's his name and other people we've seen on this show before who are saying, hey, you didn't do the right research. And again, that implies that you had all of the options and opportunities available to you. And because I've seen stuff like this before, I included my reactions to this in this book. And so do I think researchers need to be more strategic? I do. I think that's a great way to go in every area of their research. Do I think that's why we have fewer research jobs? No. I think that we've been blocked from being more strategic, which means many people who are finding their work is less strategic didn't necessarily bring that on themselves. So again, be careful of someone trying to make it sound like you brought this on yourself, because there's a very good chance you did. And he says, and that the demand is for strategic UX researchers. I'm also not seeing that. I'm seeing that while there are some strategic UX jobs open, so it's not like it's zero, I do find that in a lot of cases, people just want someone who can do the design research, as in, we don't want to research users earlier or ahead of time or do generative or discovery. We just want to do usability testing and test designs and concepts. And that can be strategic, but is usually just check if this design is good enough for us to keep moving. So not sure. Anyone can do tactical research. Not true. Again, this goes in the same bucket. Spool's been saying for many years, everyone's a designer. Also not true. Anyone can do anything. I can build a rocket ship. You can be a chef. But that doesn't mean we're going to do these things well. So we have to be careful of the broad statements of everyone is a designer, anyone can do user research. Anyone can do something they might call user research, but not everyone is going to do this well, with best practices, with a good process, up to standards. So we have to be careful of some of the language around that, because otherwise it just makes it sound like, hey, your job's easy, anybody can do it, you're not special. And that's not a message I want to give you. It might be a message Spool wants to give you, who can say. Spool continues to say the people who are supposed to be an organization's top researchers probably shouldn't be doing that work. Well, I don't understand it. If you are in an individual contributor researcher job, you've got to do at least some tactical work. If you are going to only be doing strategic work, then you might be in a research leadership job. So it doesn't make sense to say that your top researcher being a mostly tactical job, isn't doing tactical research. So, there's a lot of gear spinning here. He's setting fires in a lot of different places, and it can be very hard to debate or argue or fight with someone like that, because he's lighting so many fires in so many places, you don't even know where to start. We can leave that work to everyone else in the organization, even product managers and engineers. So again, this is where Jared goes back to his everyone's a designer, and now he's saying everyone's a researcher. Yeah, why not let product managers and engineers do tactical research? And Spool might be selling that training to companies, because that's what he used to do with the design. He would sell to companies the training in the organizations that would teach usually engineers and others to do design work, and that has, in my opinion, contributed to our layoffs, people not understanding us, people thinking they can do our jobs. And he's doing the same with research, which tells me he must be making some money out of it, because based on my opinion of him, I don't know why else he would say that. Why else would someone who some people still have on a UX pedestal, but I certainly don't, why would someone on a UX pedestal say that there's UX research work that anybody can do? Even unqualified people, even people who've never studied it and never done it. Why would someone say that? There must be something in it for him. And meanwhile, it hurts the rest of us. And I don't think he cares. And I'm not waiting for him to care. I don't know why anybody is. Organizations don't have a math department where only people who know how to do math work. But there's also no chief math officer. So again, this is Jared Spool's argument style is actually very easy to counter if you keep emotions out of it and you just stick with the facts, because organizations don't have a math department, but then again, math isn't a role. Math isn't a job. Math isn't, so nobody has the job of senior mather, whereas we have senior UX researcher, and we have, if we're lucky, a research department. So this seems like some sort of comparison that is unfair and not apples to apples. It doesn't make sense to say, well, we don't have a math department because anyone can do math. But math is not the same as UX research. Maybe if Spool were a researcher, he'd know that. That this philosophy will reduce demand for research is a myth created by people trying to gatekeep their job security, and it won't work. I speak English and I have a tough time understanding that sentence. This philosophy will reduce. So again, this is gaslighting. If you believe that UX research is only for UX researchers, you're a gatekeeper just trying to create job security, which is unfair. It's just unfair and untrue. There's nothing wrong with people having specialized jobs and us putting qualified people in those jobs. If this weren't important, if this were just fake gatekeeping and fake job security, then we wouldn't really have job descriptions. I went over this in my Customers Know You Suck book because he was talking shit like this even when I wrote that. And so if these things weren't important, we wouldn't even open these jobs. There wouldn't be a UX researcher job because research would just be wound into other people's jobs. And that's what we are seeing. And many people don't think that's an upgrade. So, but again, Spool helps cause these things and then he argues for why they're good. And it's like, well, of course you have to argue for why this is a good way to go. And the other way is gatekeeping and selfish because you've helped create the situation we're in and you don't want to take responsibility for that. And you don't want to look bad for that. And, you know, I think he should look bad for that. I think he should take responsibility for that. Oh, here he goes again. Even though many people know how to cook, there's been no downturn in the demand for chefs. Again, there's a very big difference between cooking your own food, cooking your food for friends, and actually being a professionally trained chef. For example, here in Italy, I learned that you cannot be a farmer unless you have taken hundreds of hours of educational courses on being a farmer. So again, the whole anybody can cook, we burnt this one to the ground in the Customers Know You Suck book. This is old stuff and it's gaslighting. And the problem is it sounds like it makes sense and we go, yeah, I guess everybody can cook, so I guess everybody can do UX research. But again, he's just trying to train us to be submissive and to undo our own jobs. And that's what's happening. These layoffs aren't by accident. These layoffs didn't come out of nowhere for nothing. These layoffs aren't reaction to people actually wanting to do their jobs. These layoffs are in reaction to people like him who go into companies and get huge amounts of money to tell the company, you don't really need these UX researchers. You can give that work to these product managers. So I think the question is, I'm not sure if we need to continue going through this. We've already spent a good 10 minutes on it. And I do believe that when you stop and use critical thinking, especially sentence by sentence with Jared Spool or someone like him, this stuff falls apart pretty fast. And especially if you start considering, well, what's his potential motive for saying something? Because I can't say what his motives really are, but I have to wonder, what are his motives and what is the end game and what's in it for him? Why would someone that people put up on a UX pedestal come out and say UX isn't really a specialty and anybody can do it? Well, he makes money doing that. So, you know, why is he saying that? Because that's better for UX? Because that's better for our jobs? Because that will reduce layoffs? I don't think so. So ultimately, this is the kind of thing where people want to press like on it. And who else will press like on it is product managers, because product managers want to take over a lot of UX work so that they are the ones delivering the value. And I know that even when I'm doing tactical, it's always strategic, but even when I'm doing tactical UX research, because I'm a senior researcher or a lead researcher, I'm delivering a huge amount of value and the company sees that value. So we shouldn't act like there's something inherently wrong with tactical UX research, or you're doing something wrong, or you're doing the wrong work, or we don't really need it, or anybody can do it. These are things that have been said so often at this point that they're contributing to people's poor mental health, to being laid off, to being disempowered at their jobs. And again, if my personal assessment of Spool is correct, then he will enjoy the power of having hurt people in that way. But, to me, if he has the power he imagines he has, why wouldn't he come out and say, UX is specialized, UX is important, UX should have a seat at the table. UX should be the table. I don't think other people can do UX work. But the problem is he spent so many years selling companies on training that say other people can do the work. It would be tough for him to undo that now, because we'd catch him undoing that. Ana Lucia says, UX people should know there are UX predators that try to take advantage of them, not to mention they also want to make money by selling their trade to others who shouldn't be doing it. Yeah, and let's remember that Spool makes money on both ends, because he also then runs a webinar or whatever it is. I don't get his webinar emails, and luckily you all have stopped sending them to me, where he'll say like, oh, here's how you can improve your resume or portfolio and be the candidate that stands out. The candidate that stands out for what? The job that Jared thinks you shouldn't be doing? The tactical UX research job that Jared thinks should be given to product managers? None of this makes sense, but he makes money telling corporations they don't really need us, and product managers and engineers can stop their important work and do ours. And then he makes money telling you, you did this to yourself. You should probably take my course on how you can be a better candidate to stand out. And ultimately, it's very unfortunate, but this is the type of thing that cult figures and cult of personality people do, and people fall in love with them. We see this with Teresa Torres and Nielsen and Norman, and I think that as soon as you start thinking critically about it, you start going, well, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Sure, organizations don't have a math department, but nobody is chief mather or mid-level mather. This doesn't make sense. He's not the only one. Unfortunately, there are many others. Some of them were even against democratization, but now they only care about money, selling their souls and their peers for money. Yeah, so I don't think I need to go through the rest of Spool's post. I think it's really easy for people who will stop and read it to see it for what it is. And sure, it's easy to press like on it because you think that he's saying something that tells you you can do this and you can do better and you can be bigger. But if you really read what he's saying, in my opinion, he's saying you've been doing the wrong thing. It's your fault. You're so important that other people should be doing the tactical work. It's the same thing he tried on designers. Now we have design boiled down to nothing. Now we just saw today on LinkedIn, there's a study that's out that says designers are completely in fear of their jobs, or designers are already seeing AI tools taking over their jobs. Why not? And so, this is, and his Spool's, not metaphors, comparisons don't make sense. Everyone can do math, but the demand for accountants is still strong. That's because accountants do a lot more than math. I think if you went up to an accountant and said, you math real good, they'd punch you, because being an accountant is so much more than doing math. I have a new accountant. There's stuff he's doing that I can't do. He has a knowledge of every single tax law and how the tax laws changed. I mean, so, again, the problem is when we just read what Spool says on the surface, and again, this is typical of malignant narcissist stuff. It sounds good on the surface and we want to press like. Hey, everyone can do math, but we still need accountants. That's because I needed an accountant to explain to me or to take care of for me deep tax law code stuff that I don't understand, because being an accountant is more than doing math. Ana Lucia says, funny story about math. A woman in Portugal managed to fake her credentials and work as a math teacher for decades, including publishing school manuals. Now she's being pursued for fraud. That is wacky. So again, Jared can say everyone's a designer, everyone should do the design. He's been saying for many years that engineers and the agile team should do design. Most engineers don't want to do design, and most engineers are under time pressure to make their sprints. If we stop them from doing their coding work and we tell them to do design, not only does that take mess up the timing of their work, but it takes us back a good 20, 30 years. But that makes sense because that's what Spool knows. Hi, Sam. That's what Spool knows. Spool started out as an engineer in the 80s, and so he always thinks like, oh, well, I was an engineer and I think I'm God, so engineers can just do anything. But this doesn't really match reality. And so I'm very wary of some of these loud UX voices, even who have large followings, who I think just aren't relevant anymore. I'm not sure they ever were. And they're saying things that ultimately are hurtful. And the demand for researchers is dropping. We know this by the number of researchers, especially experienced researchers, who are looking for work. Because if what Spool was saying is true, then we would see newbies have no place in research because their stuff's very tactical and they didn't get to the strategic research yet. But when we're seeing research leadership, I mean, a lot of the layoffs I've seen in my LinkedIn feed recently were research managers, research directors. These are the people doing the strategic research or strategic research related work that Spool says we should all be doing. Yet these are the people I'm seeing laid off. So yes, there is a downturn, because again, if you buy what Spool is saying and that there's no downturn and that demand is strong and that the demand isn't dropping, that's going to make you feel worse about why you don't have a job. And the last fucking thing I want for any of you, especially those of you out of work or looking for work, is for you to feel worse. Hence, new book, Life After Tech, designed to help you feel better. So, done with Spool. I don't know why y'all even send it. It's easy. It's easy to look at Spool stuff and just break it apart. It doesn't stand up. It just doesn't stand up. But I hope you're all learning to break it apart yourself. Let's see. What was this one? This was another one that came in. We only got 4 or 5 things this month. Yeah, engineers already have plenty to do. It's true. So here is a person. She's done a much better job photoshopping her picture than I've done on mine, so I give her snaps for that. I've never heard of her. I'm not connected to her. This post was from about a week ago, and here's what it says. The truth is, AI doesn't take away jobs. Okay, so that's unfortunately already false. There are a number of news reports from people who have said that AI has taken away their job. There are quotes from CEOs who have said that they have laid people off or stopped hiring people because AI can do the work. So unfortunately, for her statement to be true, for it to be true that AI doesn't take away jobs, then it would have to be true that 0 people have had their job replaced by AI. And I think there's a very low chance that 0 people have been replaced by AI. So she's starting with something that isn't true, but you know she's setting us up for something else. And she's setting us up for the typical gaslighting that I see often around AI, because the next thing she says is, but it does replace those who miss out on the wave. We've heard this time and time again. Every time there's a new technology, anybody who's skeptical about it or slower to learn it or taking more of a wait and see attitude with it or just trying to be more of a critical thinker is treated like, you're a dinosaur. You're going to be left out. You're the one whose job we're going to take. But yet the reality is that I could become an AI expert. I could learn to code. I could take every AI course on the planet, and I could still be the person who gets laid off. It's just the roll of the dice right now. That was from a week ago. Didn't she read about Klarna's layoffs? The higher up were so proud of replacing 1,000 people with AI. Yeah, sure. But again, she might have something to sell, or she might think this is good for her brand. She only got 25 likes on this and 8 comments, so this looks like a post that died in the algorithm. And so I would say that this post did not take off for this person, and I can see why. Hopefully people who looked at it said, oh, wait a minute, this doesn't seem true. And in fact, I saw a similar article from, I think it was Forbes, and I covered it in my Life After Tech book because I found an article that was like, you can avoid AI taking your job by being flexible and learning new technologies and showing your value through critical thinking. And my thought is, all the people who are seeing their jobs reduced or removed due to AI, it wasn't because they weren't flexible enough or they didn't show enough critical thinking. It's just, it's something else. So how are you going to surf the AI wave? Continuous learning. Stay up to date with the latest developments. This sounds like this person asked ChatGPT to summarize the Forbes article that I read. I don't know if Alex Banks is the person who wrote that Forbes article. I don't remember offhand. But this seems like an AI summarization or rehashing of that article. And I thought that article was quite poor. And again, it's another article or post or statement that is designed to make you feel like you're going to do this to yourself, or you've done it to yourself. You're the dinosaur, you're obsolete, you're going to miss the AI wave, and AI is going to take away your job because you didn't stay up to date with the latest developments. Use your human strengths, which some people already think AI can do, and use AI tools. So you're going to prove that you're needed at your job by using AI tools to do your job? I'm having some trouble here. And what's the right and wrong mindset? We went over that too in the book. A lot of this is chapter 3 in my Life After Tech book, which is difficult emotions and thoughts. And it's dealing with a lot of the bullshit and gaslighting and stuff that you're hearing. Like, you've got the right mindset, you've got the wrong mindset. One of the questions I would have about this person is, does she work for someone other than herself? I don't know. And I can't tell. What should you avoid? Avoid ignoring what's going on out there, as if any of you can. Avoid focusing exclusively on technology. So this is where we get into meaningful, actionable, helpful. What does any of this mean? What does it look like to focus exclusively on technology? What does it look like to ignore a development? And this is where this stuff starts to get really fuzzy and people start to really feel like, I've done something wrong. I want to follow this woman's advice. I want to ride the AI wave. I don't want it to take my job. I don't know what to do. You might have an openness to change. I know I do. Just wrote a book about it. Cooperation instead of competition. That's tough because AI does compete against us. So who am I cooperating with? The machine? The machine doesn't do my job very well. I've tried to cooperate with it. It didn't work. Willingness to learn. Of course I have a willingness to learn. Now I'm being gaslit that I'm not curious enough. So again, be careful of these things because it can make us feel like we've done this to ourselves, we're broken, you're not doing the right things, but yet you would read a post like this and you would still not know what to do because it's not meaningful, actionable, or helpful. It's a ChatGPT summary of the Forbes article that I put in the book. Not even AI people are immune to layoffs, just saying. Yeah, it's absolutely true. You could be using AI at your job. You could use it a lot. You could use it a little. You could use good AI tools, bad AI tools, and you could still find yourself gone because you're a number on a spreadsheet and someone decided they didn't want that number. Okay, we've got 2 more. Sorry if the gong went off. We'll go a little bit later. Okay, someone sent me an article called UX Needs More Punk. And their comment was, I wanted to hear your opinion on this article. I think having a brand with a distinctive personality that can be reflected in the UI design makes sense. However, this article says things about the UX and interaction design, such as, what if we make users uncomfortable? Or what if we make them think? If I put on my critical thinking hat, I think the argument about adding more punk, whatever that means, to UX falls apart, but I'm curious what you think. Thanks, PD. The playlist aspect of this article feels gimmicky. Okay, thanks to the person who sent this in. You sound like me. This is written by someone I've never heard of. I can't tell. That picture, is he hanging himself? What's going on there? I'm a little worried. So we've got a stock photo of punks. And let's see. We always look at the beginning of an article for someone to establish what they're going to deliver in the article. So I would expect them to define what they mean by punk and maybe to show the problem with something not being enough punk and then to go into why we need to be more punk. That's what I would expect, but let's see what we get. Polished interfaces and seamless experiences, which we don't have, so I'm already a little worried about this article, dominate the design landscape. No, they don't. I think in many cases they might dominate dribble portfolios, but I'm not sure that jobs are giving us the time and resources to create polished interfaces and seamless experiences. Ana Lucia says, the one who implemented AI at Klarna was laid off. So he implemented a good thing at the company. And where did that get him? Companies have no loyalty. Oh, lovely. UX design has become too safe. Okay, so this person better define this, or this does not win for meaningful, actionable, helpful, because I don't think UX design is safe at all. In fact, it's a tough job to be in, and we usually don't get enough time to do it well. So I'm definitely not feeling connected to what this person says so far, but this person is doing the typical thing, which is, look, I have an opinion, and I'm just going to tell it to you as if it's fact, and I might not even back it up. You just have to go with me on this. And my thought is, you either have to let me know this is your opinion, or you've got to give me something that backs this up so that I can feel like, yeah, I see why this person is saying this. We prize consistency, accessibility, and user-friendliness, which we should, values that are crucial to creating good products, but is good enough? Okay, hold on. This is a separate topic. Is good enough or is good not enough is a separate topic, and I'm not sure it has to do with being punk. Have we, in the quest for perfection? I don't know anyone who's in a quest for perfection, so this sounds like a straw man argument. I don't know anyone who's in a quest for perfection, so I'm a little worried about this, and I feel like we've set up, again, just the way Jared Spool sets fires in a whole bunch of places at the same time, and you don't know which one to put out first. I'm feeling a little bit of that here. Polished interfaces, seamless experiences, design is too safe. We have important values that create good products, but is good enough? I'm not even sure our products are good. And who said we have a quest for perfection? Don't we need more punk? No. No. When I think about what's missing from UX design, I don't think it's punk punk was designed to be rebellion. I can say that because I was alive when punk came around the first time. So, if this picture is not from 1978, this is third wave punks. So, the problem with over-polished UX. So again, I have a problem here because I'm not seeing over-polished UX. I don't know any of you who are doing over-polished UX. I don't know of any of you who are telling me I've got so much time at my job that I can afford to go rounds and rounds and rounds on a design and polish and over-polish it. I'm hearing the opposite. I'm hearing I don't have time to do even a decent job on this. I just have to push out something viable so developers can build it. Anna says, good UX is invisible. Why is this person even saying people should be uncomfortable? Yeah, I don't get it. Where's the uncomfortable part? Am I spelling uncomfortable wrong? Why is that word not here? Well, anyway, By smoothing out every edge, have we lost what makes experiences resonate? Again, we haven't smoothed every edge. Like, this is the article to write when we've reached some sort of amazing perfection, some sort of nirvana, some sort of, UX, what's the word I'm looking for? Begins with an S. Not self-actualization. Oh, what's the word Epica is always using? Discomfort. Yeah, so it doesn't make sense. So should we make users more uncomfortable? I want you to go up to someone with a disability and I want you to tell them that the experience is too polished for them, too seamless for them, not enough friction for them. I want you to go right now up to Jonas. I want you to go find 10 people with different disabilities, and I want you to tell them, I want you to tell them that the UX that they experience is too perfect, too seamless, lacking friction, and needs to be more punk, chaotic, and unpredictable. I want you to go tell that to someone with ADHD, someone with dyslexia, someone missing a hand, someone using a wheelchair, someone with assistive devices. Go ahead. I'll wait. I'll wait while you take your entitled ass over to a bunch of people with disabilities, diagnoses, and conditions and tell them UX needs to be more punk. And it's so funny when people think when punk didn't play it safe. Do people understand that the Sex Pistols were put together by Malcolm McLaren to make money? Do people not understand the history? Yes, there was a lot of great rawness to punk. It was rebellious, it was anti-establishment, and it had interesting people and messages. But do people understand? They don't, because they weren't there. Yeah. So this doesn't make sense. We don't have a problem with too much perfection. We don't have a problem with too much user empowerment. We don't have a problem with not enough punk. This is someone who, I guess, is solving a problem we don't have, which to me is one of the worst things you can try to do in UX products or services. UX doesn't need more punk. And sure, 585 people can clap for this because it sounds cool if you don't stop and think about it, but I want you to go ask the person with visual disabilities who can barely make it through your site and type their name in a field if they think UX needs more punk. I'll wait. Hashtag entitlement. Hashtag ableism. That's how I see this. So to the person who sent this in, I totally agree with you. This doesn't seem quite right, but I'm going to go a little bit further and I'm going to say, I think this is ableist. And let's take a look at our last one. Now, originally I was mad at Austin for this because I don't follow him and I'm not interested in what he has to say. And then I realized he was crediting someone else with this. So instead of sharing their post, he rewrote it so that he can get all the action on it. Oh, what do you know? So this person says, this single tactic will help you turn more interviews into offers. Next, I want you to notice that it isn't a single tactic. So this is a thing that people do to make it sound like something they're going to present to you is easier or simpler than it is. But what he presents is not easy or simple, or what comes from Samantha. There's nothing easy or simple about what he's about to present you, and it is not a single tactic. So the first thing you want to do as a critical thinker is especially notice that since these are numbered, this is not a single tactic. So let's take a look at it. They're calling this show me you know me. Maybe they think that's a single tactic, but it's made up of a lot of things. Kind of reminds me of when Spool wrote that article on 5 easy steps to becoming an expert or whatever it was. And step 1 was become an expert. And it's like, that's not one step. So most job seekers think the companies, which is not spelled correctly, care about their backgrounds. Companies care about hiring the person they trust to bring the most ROI to the role. If you're only focused on your background but not the company's needs, you're losing offers. This doesn't make sense because the company can only assess your application from your background. You are not yet bringing ROI, but the company is going to assess whether or not you can fulfill the duties of the job and potentially deliver that ROI by looking at your background. And so that is really the only way they can assess you, unless they're going to ask you to do free work. If they're going to ask you to do free or paid spec work, then they can try to assess you based on actually doing work or actually delivering ROI. But if they're not giving you free or paid or unpaid work, then they can only assess you by your background, your resume, your CV, your portfolio, your case studies, however you deliver that. So it doesn't make sense right away to say there's something you're doing that's keeping you from getting an offer because you're not focused enough on the company's needs. I think my question would be, how do you know the company's needs? A company might not tell us what their needs are. That might be confidential. Companies rarely tell us what their challenges are, even during the job interview, because their challenges are often confidential. They don't want random person X or a competitor to know what their challenges are. So how can you say that the company's going to be focused on you as a candidate and then you have to figure out the company's needs? But this gets worse. If you want to win more offers, you need to show the company you get them. You need to show them you have a deep understanding of their goals, challenges, and visions for the next 6 to 12 months. Again, you can only know that if the company tells you that. If you get on an interview call with someone and you say, I'd love to hear more about the company's goals, challenges, and visions for the next 6 to 12 months, I'd be surprised if they don't hang up on you, because that's an extremely sensitive question when you probably not only don't have the job, but you don't have a non-disclosure agreement. What company is going to list out their goals, challenges? Maybe they'll tell you something about their vision, but why would they tell you about their challenges, especially if they're publicly traded or have hot competitors? Why would they tell you what problems they're facing? And why would they tell you their longer or midterm plans for the next 6 to 12 months? Why would they expose that publicly when competitors could then take advantage of that? So this implies that you know something you don't. But I think the problem is that you're then going to go into a job interview having guessed it. You are going to think that you need to figure out or reverse engineer or Google the company enough to guess their goals and challenges and visions. And I know if I'm on the other end of that and I'm the interviewer and you are guessing my company's goals, guessing our challenges, guessing our vision, I probably think you're arrogant and overstepping. I don't think you're going to be the person who looks like you really got our needs. You're going to look like the person who guessed our needs. And then this person says, before you interview, research the heck out of the company. And again, this is asking you to do a lot of work that might not pay off. Listen to earnings calls. That's hours of stuff. Find interviews with executives. Hours of stuff. Read news articles, hours of stuff. Read customer reviews, hours of stuff. Find product demos, hours of stuff. Look at competitors, hours of stuff. Identify major challenges and goals. This is completely overstepping. What is this job? If this job is mid-level UX designer and you show up and you say, I just spent the last 40 hours analyzing your earnings calls, I've read interviews with executives, and I've looked through your customer reviews, and I've identified your major challenges and goals. What job is this? This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous, and there are going to be people out there who think they're not getting the second interview or they're not getting the offer because they didn't do this. And I'm telling you, you shouldn't have to do this, and it doesn't make sense to do this. And then they go to the most obvious things. Why do you want to work here? What happened? We went from I'm going to solve your vision, challenges, and pain points to why do you want to work here and what's your biggest weakness? This is all fucking over the place. Don't listen to this. And again, this guy can get away with anything and get a zillion likes on something because he has 1 million followers. And a person with 1 million followers can find 1,000 people who will press like on anything. But it doesn't make sense. This says, before this conversation, I watched Keynote with CEO and dove into 100+ product reviews. My understanding is that the biggest focus for this role is X. I never say that. That's assumptive. I say, what to you is your biggest priority for my role? I want to ask that. I don't want to assume that. If I get this person in the interview, I don't want to meet them again. They've done way too much assuming. Is the legwork nice? Sure, the legwork is nice, but I don't expect them to dive into our company at that level until they're hired. I really don't. For now, I expect you to be a candidate, and I expect you to be a candidate interviewing at multiple companies, and I expect you to not be putting in this work at multiple companies. I just want to get to know you. And if you can't talk about you, and you're going to tell me what our CEO said in a keynote, or you're going to tell me what our user reviews say, then you're not telling me about you. So I don't think this is a thing. The end. Ana Lucia says, that would be extremely offensive for the company. That attitude is like, I know you better than you, but you don't even know I can't do it better. Yeah, so I feel super done and over with a lot of these very strange pieces of advice. Again, they are designed to make you feel like you're not doing it right, and you're going to need to keep following this guy and listening to his advice so that you can get that job. But he has 1 million followers. So if 1 million people are following his advice, none of you stand out. So then you all get so it doesn't work anymore now. If everybody follows that advice, nobody stands out. To me, the person who stands out is the person who can speak to their abilities and past experience and skills and impact, and who can answer my questions directly and well. If I ask you about how you do something and you go, well, your CEO said this and I read these reviews, you didn't answer my question. My question was, how do you do this? So I think this is bad advice, and I think this advice also hurts people because it makes them feel like I didn't get that interview or that offer because I didn't do enough of this detective work. And you shouldn't have to do 40 hours of detective work, listen to every keynote the CEO has ever done, and read 100 product reviews. You should be paid to do that. At that point, you're solving the company's problems, and this is paid work. Hashtag, I get paid to do that. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for watching. I hope people enjoy the critical thinking streams. We do them last Friday of every month. You can send your stuff to, there's a link at dcx.to. I put them on the list. You can leave comments with them, which helps me know what to look for. Don't forget, Life After Tech is spinning off as its own book and Patreon and Discord and a whole separate community so that we can separate the Delta CX and CXCC worlds of helping you in the work with the Life After Tech world of helping you find what else you can do outside of tech work. Smashing glasses. Thank you, Joel. Unfortunately, they reflect my ring light a little bit strangely, but I do like them. From Zenny, hashtag not sponsored. So, so don't forget to join the new YouTube channel, Your Life After Tech, because someone was already Life After Tech. Your Life After Tech will be going live on Monday. I'm going to be doing a lightning lesson on what's in the book, introducing you to some of my frameworks, and we'll try an exercise together because the book has 18 exercises, so it's also a workbook. And again, you don't have to leave tech to read and enjoy and benefit from Life After Tech. It's a catchy title, but you are welcome to stay in tech, so please don't be afraid of the title. Tell people about the book, whether they're staying in tech or not. Ana Lucia says, it's completely presumptuous, and I think the last thing you want as an interviewee is sounding like a presumptuous prick. I agree. Well said, and meaningful action. There's some meaningful, actionable, helpful advice from your friend Ana Lucia. Don't show up to an interview and be a presumptuous prick. It sounds like a band name. All right, I'm going to flame us out of here. Everybody have a super weekend. Don't forget to check the events calendar because we're going to be doing the Monday Lightning lesson on Life After Tech at 9 p.m. Italy time, which is a little later than usual. And again, it's going to stream on both LinkedIn and on Life After Tech. I might actually also stream it here too, just so because people are not yet used to me breaking out the new channel. But then after that, we're going to start breaking them out. So thanks, everybody. Have a good weekend. Be well, and I will catch you all soon. Thanks. Bye.